The voicemail hit before the candles even melted. "We're in Paris," Dad said, laughing like it was a joke. "We just wanted to keep you busy." The sound sliced through the room. I'd spent months perfecting balloons, trembling cake, untouched every chair, still waiting for a family that never planned to come. I stood there frozen, my phone buzzing in my hand, their laughter echoing from another continent. 3 months of work, my savings, my trust gone in one breath. I didn't scream, I didn't call back. But a week later, when they started calling me nonstop, I already had a plan they'd never see coming. I grew up in Columbia, Missouri, the kind of town where family dinners meant everything. At least that's what I used to believe. My name's Maya Brooks, 24, the dependable one. You can count on her daughter. I worked as an accounting clerk in a small local firm, 8 hours of spreadsheets, followed by another 4 hours planning everyone else's happiness. My parents called it helping out. I called it keeping the peace. 3 months ago, my little sister Addison turned 16. Sweet 16, her big milestone. I told myself it was my chance to make her feel special, maybe remind Mom and Dad that I mattered too. So I threw myself into planning the perfect night. I booked a cozy restaurant by the river, one with string lights and a soft jazz band. I hand-wrote every invitation, folded napkins into tiny stars, and spent half my savings on pink decorations because Mom said, "You know she hates purple." Every day during my lunch break, I'd sneak calls to the manager whispering about menu details while my boss glared over his computer. "Make it quick, Maya," he'd bark, and I'd rush to finish apologizing for caring too much. At night, my living room looked like a small event studio, balloons piled against the wall, ribbons tangled around my desk, sticky notes everywhere. I'd scroll through photos of Addison as a baby printing and gluing them into an album, her first bike, our snowman, the cookie fight in the kitchen. Every memory, I thought, still meant something. Mom would hover while I worked. Addison likes fancier cakes. Maybe 3 layers, she'd say, tapping her nails on my receipts. Dad texted daily, "Don't skimp on the food, she deserves the best." They never offered to pay. I didn't ask. That's what I did, fix, fund, and forgive. When I texted Addison for her opinion, she replied, "Cool, nothing else." Not a thank you, not even a question. I told myself it was just teenage attitude, but somewhere inside a small, quiet thought whispered, maybe they only notice me when I'm useful. The night before the party, I packed everything carefully, balloons, candles, the photo album wrapped in tissue paper. I imagined the moment she'd walk in, surprised and maybe grateful. The next morning, Mom called. Her voice was brisk. "Don't forget to confirm the restaurant one more time. Addison's counting on you. Counting on me." Those 3 words used to make me proud. That day, they just made me tired. I didn't know it yet, but they weren't counting on me at all. They were keeping me busy for something else entirely. The week leading up to Addison's birthday felt like walking on glass. Every time I thought I'd done enough, Mom found something new to fix. Change the flowers, pink roses, not carnations. Dad chimed in from the background, "Don't cheap out on the band Maya." "This is her big night," I nodded, even though every word meant another charge on my debit card. At work, my focus shattered. I'd sneak quick calls between client reports, checking orders and confirming times. My boss noticed. "Maybe plan your little party after hours," he said, not looking up. The humiliation stung, but I smiled anyway, like always. That weekend, I drove across town to pick up decorations. My car smelled like frosting and latex balloons. I turned up the radio just to drown out my thoughts. Family meant sacrifice, I reminded myself. And I'd always been the one to hold things together. When I got home, Addison was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "Hey, I'm almost done with your party plans," I said lightly. She didn't look up. Cool. Just that one word. Cold detached, the kind that lands harder than an insult. Mom was in the kitchen flipping through glossy travel magazines. "Shouldn't you be helping me wrap presents?" I asked. She smiled without looking up. "You're better at these things, honey. I trust you." Trust. That word twisted. It wasn't trust, it was delegation. They trusted me to handle everything so they wouldn't have to. Over dinner, they talked about flights, restaurants, and museums. Not for Addison's birthday, though. I caught the edge of a sentence, something about Paris and tickets. I looked up, but Mom changed the subject instantly. "Don't forget to call the bakery tomorrow," she said too quickly. My gut tightened, but I brushed it off. They'd probably meant Paris Cafe, not Paris the city. That was the kind of faith I still had in them. The night before the event, I stayed up late packing centerpieces and gift bags, my eyes burning. I sent one last group text to confirm the time, Mom, Dad, Addison. No reply. I told myself they were busy. The next morning, Dad called. "Everything ready, yeah," I said. "Can't wait for you guys to see it." He paused just a beat too long. "Good job, kiddo." Then he hung up. It should have sounded proud. It didn't. It sounded like closure. That day at work, my coworker Tara dropped by my cubicle. "You look like you haven't slept," she said, handing me coffee. I forced a laugh. "Family stuff." She nodded slowly, the kind of nod people give when they've been there too. Sometimes she said quietly, "The ones you give everything to are the ones who take it all for granted." Her words stuck to me longer than I wanted to admit. That night, as I arranged candles one last time, I stared at the reserved for family sign on the main table. For the first time, I wasn't sure if that meant me anymore. By 6 o'clock, the restaurant looked perfect. Soft music floated through the room, pink balloons swayed under string lights, and the river outside caught the last of the sunset. The Happy Sweet 16 banner shimmered in the glow. I checked my phone, no new messages. Addison was supposed to arrive at 6 sharp. Mom and Dad promised to be there early. I took a deep breath and texted, "Here already, can't wait to see you guys." No response. The band tuned their guitars again, their polite smiles tightening. The server hovered near the kitchen door. "Would you like to start with drinks?" he asked gently. I shook my head, pretending to check something on my phone. 6:10, then 6:15. I called Addison, straight to voicemail. I tried Mom. Same thing. Dad picked up on the third ring. "Hey, Maya," he said, casual, almost cheerful. I could hear chatter in the background, foreign echoing. "Where are you guys?" I asked. A pause. Then laughter. "Oh, didn't we tell you we're in Paris?" The room tilted. I gripped the phone. "Paris." "Yeah," he said, like it was no big deal. "We just wanted to keep you busy while we planned something real for Addison." Then he laughed. That easy, careless laugh that made my throat close. My mind went blank. The air in the room felt wrong too, still too loud. Behind me, the balloons trembled in the air conditioner's draft. The cake I'd spent hours designing waited untouched, the frosting glistening under the light. I opened my mouth to say something, anything but nothing came out. My chest burned, but my voice stayed trapped. They'd used me. They'd planned this. The band began to pack up quietly. The clink of guitar cases snapped me back. The server approached again. "Should we cancel the reservation, miss?" I nodded slowly. "Donate the food," I whispered. "Please." He hesitated, pity flashing in his eyes, then nodded and left me alone. I walked to the table I'd reserved for my family, 6 empty chairs. I set the wrapped photo album in the middle, pictures of 2 little girls in snow boots, frosting on their cheeks, laughing under Christmas lights. I wanted that laughter back, but all I heard was my father's voice echoing in my head. "We just wanted to keep you busy." I turned off my phone and stared out the window. Across the river city, lights blurred into streaks. Somewhere between the reflections, I saw myself alone, calm and strangely clear. For the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't plead. Something inside me had gone still, like water freezing over. I picked up my purse, pushed open the door, and stepped into the cold night air. The band's last note faded behind me. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I just walked. Because if they thought I'd break, they were wrong. That night, I decided I'd stop being the one who waited for them to come back. A week passed before the first call came, then another, then 30 more. 36 missed calls in 1 hour. Mom, Dad, Addison. Over and over, the same names lighting up my screen like alarms. I didn't answer. I sat on my couch, the apartment quiet except for the soft hum of the fridge. My phone kept buzzing, vibrating against the counter. The sound used to trigger panic in me. Now it just sounded distant, small. I typed one message and hit send. "I'm very busy." Then I turned the phone face down and finally exhaled. That week, I'd done something none of them expected. I printed my bank statements, receipts, and emails, every payment I'd made for that party. Restaurant deposit decorations, the cake, the band. All from my own account. Every dollar traceable. I slid them into a neat folder labeled in red for when they come knocking, because I knew they would. When they did, showing up at my door with tight smiles and fake shock, I was ready. Mom's voice went sharp first. "You've humiliated us. The whole family's talking." Dad crossed his arms. "You think you can just walk away after what you did?" "What I did?" I asked quietly. Addison stood behind them, arms crossed, defiant. "You made us look bad. Everyone knows about the party. They didn't realize how." 2 days earlier, I'd sent one simple email to every relative, every neighbor, and yes, even Addison's friends. I attached photos of the empty restaurant, the untouched cake, the chairs set for people who never came. No captions, no rant, just the truth. The subject line read, "The party I planned alone." By morning, whispers had turned into wildfire. My parents' perfect image, devoted family doting parents, was crumbling. Cousins messaged me in disbelief. Neighbors stopped waving at them on morning walks. Addison's so-called best friends unfollowed her, their group chat screenshots spilling online. And me, I didn't gloat. I just worked. I drafted my resignation letter to the firm, 2 weeks' notice, no explanation. Then I opened an email from my best friend Tara. "The photography course I told you about still has a spot. You should take it." For the first time, I didn't hesitate. I applied that night. While Mom and Dad were busy defending themselves to everyone else, I was buying a one-way ticket to Portland. I'd found a cheap studio apartment near the art school, and Aunt Ellen offered me her spare room until I got settled. Every evening, I'd pack one more box, one more memory I no longer needed. The walls of my apartment started to empty, but my chest felt lighter than it had in years. The day before my move, they came again, this time with anger. Mom slammed a folder onto my table. "You stole money from our savings." I didn't flinch. I opened my own folder, for when they come knocking, and handed it to the officer standing behind them. He scanned the papers, glanced up at me, then at them. All expenses came from her personal account. "There's no theft here." Dad's jaw twitched. Mom stammered something about misunderstanding. Addison rolled her eyes. "Whatever. You're still dramatic." I smiled faintly. "Maybe, but I'm also free." When they left, the silence in my apartment felt different this time, not heavy, not lonely, just mine. That night, I packed my last box. On top of it, I placed my old camera, the one I'd buried in a drawer years ago. I wiped the dust off the lens, turned it toward the window, and snapped a photo of the city lights. The image came out blurry, imperfect, but real, just like me. By morning, my phone was buzzing again, dozens of missed calls. I didn't check who. I didn't need to. I brewed coffee, watched the steam rise, and smiled. They'd finally realized they couldn't reach me, not because I was gone, but because I'd stopped waiting for them to see me. The next time I'd hear that ringtone, it wouldn't make me flinch. It would remind me of how far I'd come. By the time my flight confirmation hit my inbox, the storm had already started to hit them. Mom's book club stopped inviting her. Dad's coworkers whispered behind his back about the Paris thing. Addison's friends posted cryptic quotes about loyalty and lies. Every notification, every call they sent my way was proof the truth had finally done what I couldn't speak for me. They called again that morning 12 times before breakfast. The phone buzzed across my counter, a steady, desperate rhythm. I poured my coffee and let it ring. They left voicemails switching tones like radio stations. Mom first. "Maya, please let's talk. Families fight, but we forgive." Then Dad. "You think you can embarrass us publicly and just walk away?" And Addison, her voice high and sharp. "You ruined my birthday. Everyone hates me now." I almost laughed. Not out of cruelty, but out of disbelief, because somehow they still thought this was about them. I sat at my desk, the Portland acceptance email glowing on my laptop screen. I hadn't smiled like that in years. For the first time, I had something that didn't revolve around their needs. A dream, a plan, a life. I printed my travel details and pinned them above my desk. Flight Columbia, Portland. Departure 3 weeks. Then I started cleaning. The decorations from the party ribbons, unused candles, extra place cards. I boxed them up neatly and labeled the box "Unsent Invitations." I carried it downstairs and left it by the dumpster. Watching it sit there under the afternoon sun felt like setting a burden down. Later, I opened my bank app, $2,000 left. Tight, but enough. I made a list of cheap apartments near the school, part-time jobs that paid cash. I'd work in a coffee shop, maybe take photos on weekends. I didn't need much, just freedom. A few days later, the knock came. 3 sharp hits on the door. I didn't have to look through the peephole to know who it was. Kristen Mom caught herself. "Maya, please." Her voice cracked. "People are saying terrible things about us. You have to help fix it." I stayed still, one hand on the doorknob. "You taught me to clean up your messes," I said quietly through the door. "But this one's yours." A pause. Then Dad's low growl. "You owe us respect." "No," I said. "I owed you honesty." "And you threw it away in Paris." For a moment, silence. Then their footsteps faded down the hall. I leaned against the door, heart steady. The sound of them leaving didn't hurt. It sounded like space being made, space I could finally fill with my own life. That night, I sat by the window, camera in hand. The city lights outside blurred through the glass. I snapped one photo, just light and shadow, no faces, no family, no ghosts. It was the first picture in years that didn't belong to them. And as my phone buzzed again, 36 missed calls and counting, I smiled, whispered to the empty room, "I told you. I'm very busy." The morning I left Missouri, the sky was still gray with early fog. My suitcase bumped quietly behind me as I walked through the terminal. For once, no one was texting me instructions or asking for updates. Just silence, the good kind. At the gate, I glanced at my phone. One unread message from Mom. "We need to talk. Please come home." I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back 3 words, "I'm very busy." Then I switched the phone off for good. When the plane lifted off, Columbia shrank beneath the clouds, streets, houses, memories, all fading into soft distance. The farther I flew, the lighter I felt. Aunt Ellen met me at Portland's airport with a warm hug and a thermos of coffee. "Welcome home, kid," she said. That word home landed differently this time. It didn't mean duty or debt. It meant beginning. Her house was small, painted a faded blue with ivy curling up the porch rails. That first night, I unpacked only one thing, my camera. It felt alive again in my hands, as if it had been waiting for me all along. When classes started, I walked into the photography studio with nerves buzzing under my skin. But the moment I looked through the lens, seeing light color and motion, I felt steady, whole. Every click of the shutter was like reclaiming a piece of myself I'd forgotten. Weeks passed. My parents stopped calling. Addison didn't text. The silence that once scared me had turned into peace. One rainy evening, I stood on a bridge, downtown, camera in hand, watching the streetlights ripple in the water below. The scene reminded me of that restaurant, lights, reflections, empty chairs. But this time, there was no ache, only quiet gratitude. Sometimes people ask me what happened after that night. I tell them this. They went to Paris, but I found freedom. And every time I take a photo now, I think of those words that ended everything and began something better. I'm very busy. If you've ever had to walk away from people who took you for granted, tell me in the comments, what did you choose for yourself instead? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one, because sometimes the best revenge isn't anger, it's peace.